Hello, everyone. I see some people coming in. And as you're coming in, feel free to add any questions to the chat while we're waiting for a few people to get in the Zoom room. A couple people come in. Oops. Just updated the chat settings. So if you have any questions for Lauren as we're getting started, feel free to put any questions in the chat. I'm going to give everybody just one more minute to get in the Zoom room. All right, I see a couple more people just came in the room. Welcome. Feel free to put any questions you have for Lauren or any topics you want to make sure we cover in this busy webinar tonight in the chat while we're getting started. All right, well, I want to be cognizant of time because I know Lauren has a lot to talk about this evening. So let's go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. I am Allison Kranz. I'm speech language pathologist and program manager at SpeakSuite. And we are so very excited to have the wonderful Lauren Hastings here again to present the third and final session of the series regarding billing insurance tonight. If you missed the first two webinars, 5 steps to getting credentialed and codes, and more codes, there was a lot to learn in both of those, and we do have links to those videos. So let me know, and I'll be happy to send that link out to you. Great courses, a lot of information. I know a lot of people probably want to watch it back as well for all of that. Lauren, if you're new to the webinar series, has a great amount of experience from being a private practice owner to owning her own coaching business, in addition to pursuing her PhD and having her own podcast. Those are just a few of the things that Lauren does right now. So she does quite a bit. We're so excited to have her here again. Before we dive into billing insurance, which is very important, I'd like to just take a quick minute to share a bit about SpeakSuite. So for those of you who are familiar with SpeakSuite, they know that it's a digital platform that helps SLPs who work with children with speech sound disorders. The SLP sets up the speech practice for her individual child. The child practices by opening up our game-based application. And the exciting part is that the SLP can actually review the progress back in the portal. We're super happy to announce that we have updated our platform recently. This new update actually adds APIs, or the ability for our system to integrate with your client systems, such as patient management systems, student management, or billing systems. We've also added some new customization features, and this is kind of my favorite update to share, to the goal setting, which allows SLPs to search for keywords that they're searching for their kiddos with speech sound disorders, or even get more specific in terms of what they want their targets to include or specific phonemes to exclude from their word list, which I think is super, super important. To set up a full demo with me, feel free to send me a message in the chat, or I'll go ahead and you can go to speaksuite.com. I'll put that in the chat as well, and we can set up a demo so I can show you how it all works. But without further ado, let's get into the reason we're all here tonight. We want to learn how to bill insurance. We've learned how to get credentialed. We've learned all of the codes, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them. And now we're ready and excited to learn to bill. So thank you so much for being here, Lauren. I will send it over to you.
Thank you so much, Allison. I'm so glad she stopped talking when she was doing a little bio, because I just want people to know I do sleep. I do sleep, okay? But when they keep talking, it's like, wait, she probably doesn't sleep. All right, so billing with ease, the last portion. So insurance can be very overwhelming, and I just want to give a little heads up for anybody who's new, hasn't been here the last couple of times, but I purposely break insurance down into these three parts: credentialing, then codes, then let's talk about how to bill. Because if you learn it all at one time, whew, you just might say maybe isn't for me. So um just want to recap about the 5 steps to get credentialed. I want you to put on your business hat. You can keep that SLP hat on, but just put that business hat on when you start your private practice, let alone when you become an insurance provider. You need to check the market to see who's around you and do they take insurance? Are they private pay? Are there OTs, PTs, ABA therapists, psychologists, social workers in your area? Because you are really a servant to that community when you uh, start your private practice. A lot of people don't think about it that way, but in my experience, parents are always okay with taking their kids to speech therapy, but when it comes to the other services, either they don't know where to find them, or they're just not ready to embark on that just yet. So it's just good to have an arsenal of resources and references in your back pocket, so when they are ready and you have built that wonderful rapport and you're able to tell them, hey, maybe you should go see this specialist. It's good to have that. Make sure you get all your documentation, research the applications, because some applications may want CAQH, they might want some papers to me to notarize. That has happened to me several times. I'm actually sitting on my updated TRICARE application right now, and it's a page on there that has to be notarized. And then take your time. Also start thinking about electronic medical record, because I always think everybody knows what an EMR system is. Really start shopping around for that. When we go car shopping, we don't, well, maybe you do, but maybe we don't go the first time and say, yes, is that car. Well, we test drive different cars, or we research different cars before we kind of hone in on one. So take advantage of those trials that the EMR systems have. Are there any questions about credentialing and coding? I want to get out any questions, comments, confusion, because billing is its own bear. Any questions? Or is everybody good with insurance and coding? If you feel comfortable, put a Y in the chat. If you don't feel comfortable, put a O in the chat. If you don't feel comfortable at all, put an N in the chat. Let me get a few more responses. If you feel comfortable with credentialing and coding, put a Y. If you are kind of like, put a O. Oh, okay. The chat is still disabled. Okay, put in the Q&A. Okay, we're good. Okay. All right, here we go. So, billing. Billing is the process of submitting the claim. Anybody remember what the claim number form is called? What's that form that you have to send in to insurance? What is it called? What is the form called that you have to submit to insurance? What is it called? What is it called? What is the form called? Now, if y'all don't know what the form is called, then you might need to back up. What is the name of the form that you have to submit to insurances? Anybody? You have 2 places to put I'm waiting for this one because this is important. What is the name of the form that you need to submit to the insurance? Whether you have an EMR system or you're doing it by hand, what's the name of the form? Does anybody know? Thank you. The 1500 form. The 1500 form is what you need to have filled out in order to submit to insurances. Okay. So, how are you guys feeling about billing? Now, I know there's no Y's in here. So, put an O if you're like, I'm halfway, and put an N if you're like, I don't get it. I do not get billing. It's complicated. I don't like it. If you kind of halfway get insurance billing, put an O, put an N if you're like, I know nothing. I know absolutely nothing. Okay, great. All right. So first things first, before we even start about submitting, is knowing the steps before billing. Okay. Knowing the steps. So the steps before you bill with any insurance, you need to verify the patient's insurance. Okay. And we'll talk about that in a second, what that means. So you need to verify the insurance. You need to find out, document all of the intricacies of their plan, what the benefits are, and then big bold letters. I should have put this in red. Number 3, explain the benefits. If you are not working directly with the patient and you have like your office manager or receptionist, or there's someone designated in your practice to do this, make sure they know how to explain it, and not in like professional terms, in layman's terms. Help them understand how to explain it to parents, because what will happen, which it has happened to me, unfortunately, is that when I first got started, especially with the commercial insurances like Blue Cross Blue Shield and Aetna and United Healthcare, I would just bill and bill and bill, and then it will come back, they need to pay me. And I did not have the conversation. And I had billed 3 or 4 claims, and now they owe me like $200. That is very uncomfortable. Okay. Very, very, very uncomfortable. So you need to know and understand what the benefits are. Don't be that one. And I have consulted 2 people, one who was randomly on a Facebook group and a colleague that I know. And they shared my screen. Their biller shared their screen, and it was like they had kids that owed them like $2,000 and all this other stuff. And I'm like, why are you still seeing them? Are you still seeing them? And they're racking up this bill? That's a recipe for you writing some of that off. So it's good to get a handle and knowledge of the plans and have that conversation with the parent or patient, for those of you who are interested in billing adults, before you get started. Okay. Make sure you know the codes that are needed. So let's say you check the benefits, but you just want to double check to make sure that the codes are included in that plan. Tell them you're going to bill 92523 and 92507, right? Or 92522 for articulation only, and 92507 for therapy. Tell the insurance that when you call the number. I will tell you later on how you can check online and you don't have to worry about calling, because to be honest, a lot of those people that pick up the phone really don't know what they're talking about. So I had a situation where I was billing home, because you can do that. When you go to the home, when you go to daycare, that's considered home. Okay. You can't bill school because the school system bills Medicaid. All right. And then some insurances don't always accept 99 as a place, which that just means other. So anyway, was billing home for months. The mom was giving me $20 for her copay. Come to find out, there is a different set of benefits for home services versus outpatient services. So I had to reimburse mom because I was billing home, it was 100% covered. So, but we didn't find that out until I was billing, right? So gotta call sometimes, or just sometimes trial and error. Do you want me to repeat that? Yes, I will. So, when I had my practice, I was going to people's homes and daycares. The place that I always billed was home. This particular kid had Blue Cross Blue Shield. So with Blue Cross Blue Shield, some plans have benefits for home. You don't see anything, but you hear. Okay. Benefits for home health, and then benefits for outpatient. Okay. Usually when you look it up online, which I will talk about that later, you will mostly see outpatient. They rarely show you home health. And sometimes, I know you don't want to hear this, it is trial and error. Sometimes you have to just go and bill. But in that situation, Blue Cross Blue Shield did not rectify the situation until like 3-4 months in, as I was billing. Now I had to send their claims back in, and they paid the extra money back, which I don't want to get into that right now. I'll get into that in a minute. I want to slow myself down. But yes, there are different benefits from outpatient versus home health. All right. Also, you need to find out if the insurance requires a pre-authorization or authorization on therapy, or for therapy, I should say. Let me tell you this. For any of your patients, do keep the same standard. I used to have some of my straight Medicaid parents tell me, oh, I don't need a prescription. I said, well, in my practice, I require a prescription. So all of my clients, I required a prescription. And I also had all of their plan of care signed. And I'm so glad. Why, Lauren? Let me tell you what happened. I had this kid, Blue Cross Blue Shield, another one. And when I checked his insurance, it didn't say anything about pre-authorization. I started billing, and they didn't pay me. Then they had the nerve in 2021, I think it was 2022, send me a letter saying they needed the prescription and the signed plan of care. And I slipped up, and I had to run around and get a prescription because I didn't have it. And I had to mail it in before they started sending my claims, or paying my claims, I should say. So make sure you find out. But if you keep that standard with everybody, you always get a prescription, you always get that plan of care signed, then you should be fine. Also, too, learn the turnaround time for Medicaid. So Georgia Medicaid used to pay us every Monday. It was beautiful, y'all. Made sure all your claims in were by Friday at noon, had that direct deposit in your bank account come Monday. But then they moved it to Wednesday, right? Then AmeriGroup, if I billed, meaning if I submitted my claims just about every day, every other day, I would either get I would either get a direct deposit on Tuesday or direct deposit on Thursday. So it's good to know your turnaround time, especially if you have employees, but also for yourself. So you know when to kind of designate your payday. I know I spent a long time on this slide, but I'm going to break it down some more so we won't be lost. So big billing mistake, not doing your monthly check-ins, especially for, I hate to say it, for those Medicaid kiddos, but even sometimes for the commercial kiddos too. Parents will have their insurance lap and they do not tell you. All right. The only way you find out is by logging in there and seeing it, or your claim doesn't get paid. Let me let me break this down. If you have, let's pick a married group. If you have a kid, adult that has a married group and you have an active authorization, meaning they have sent you a letter that says from July 1st to December 1st, you can see this patient, right? But if their insurance goes inactive, they will not pay you. I'm going to say it again. It does not matter if you have an active authorization. If the insurance is inactive, you will not be paid. So it's very important that every month, the first of the month, or I would dare say the last day of the month, to check and verify all of your insurances for your kids or adults. This is mostly for your Medicaid and CMO. So like straight Medicaid, AmeriGroup, CareSource, those, because that's happened to me more with those than like Blue Cross Blue Shield. Because for those of you who have commercial insurances like Blue Cross Blue Shield, when you pay it, they guarantee it from January to December. Not so much for your Medicaids. It is on a month-to-month basis. I got so anal about it when I first started. I used to look at it every week. But what you do is when it happens, if you go in there and you check, it is inactive. You need to alert that parent, that patient immediately to let them know therapy will stop. And usually they get on the good foot. But always check for those benefits. Now, here's mistake number 2, and I'm going to say this slowly. If I have to say it 3-4 times, just let me know, okay? So, billing mistake number 2, not understanding copays and deductibles, all right? So, a copay is what the patient pays, right? And then the insurance covers the rest, all right? Now, when it comes to deductibles, the deductible is the amount that you have to pay out of pocket before insurances kick in, all right? Now, let's say this slowly because I feel like my brain is going faster than my mouth, so I have the comments updated. So, if you have a patient that has like a co-insurance for like 80%, that means when they hit the deductible, the insurance will pay 80% and they will only have to pay 20%. When the patient has met the out-of-pocket, the insurance covers it all. I'm gonna say that again. When the deductible is met, if there is some type of co-insurance, that's when the insurance will pay whatever that co-insurance is, 80%, 90%. The insurance will not pay 100 until the out of pocket and the deductible is met. Does everybody understand that? If you get lost, Google deductible and out of pocket. Anybody else? Okay. Deductible. Okay. A deductible, when you look up insurance, let me see if it's the next slide. Okay. This is one of my patients. So, previous patients. So, you have a deductible and out of pocket. The out of pocket is always going to be more. If this one doesn't have a co-insurance, this is not a good example, but I'm still going to use it. So, the insurance will not pay anything if the deductible is not met. Do you understand that? Okay. So that is true, Laura. You can ask if the deductible applies to therapy. If it doesn't, then insurance coverage starts right away, usually with a copay. Yes. So it just depends, but that's not always the case, depending, especially with Blue Cross Blue Shield, because they have so many different plans. All right. I will strongly suggest to you when, not if, when you get your EMR system, and especially if you are a Blue Cross Blue Shield provider, make sure you use the notes box to write in what type of plan they have so that you can learn more about that plan. So when you get someone else with that plan, you will be comfortable. Okay. So yes, to Laura's point, sometimes they do start right away. If you have a copay, they will start paying, but it all depends on the plan, if and this therapy is covered in that. All right. Another question I get all the time, as you can see, this plan only had 40 visits in the plan. You can request more, but sometimes it has you have to deal with all the red tape sometimes. I remember a kid had a plan that they would not cover it unless the kid had a TBI, autism. I forgot what the third disorder was. So, but it's really important to understand deductible and out of pocket. I usually would tell my parents, and this is a low one. If you get someone, I'm gonna tell you this now. If you get someone and their deductible and their out of pocket is like $8,000-$10,000, they're ultimately going to end up being private pay. Are the 40 visits only for speech? Yes, it's only for speech. Yes. So when you look up plans, they will tell you what the benefits are for each services. We don't share. Some plans you might share, but for the most part, you don't share. Every plan has separate benefits for PT/OT speech. All right. Any questions so far before I move on? Any questions? The biggest thing, your biggest hurdle is understanding and explaining deductibles and out of pockets to parents, because unfortunately, just like you paying $200-$300 or maybe less, depending on your job, for this premium just to find out that the benefits for speech therapy is not a lot. And that's a hard pill to swallow. So when I get plans like that, I do have that conversation about getting services in the school system, especially if they're in that birth to 5 population. Yes, I will explain the benefits. Oh, that's awesome, Laura. I should have did that. Note to self. I'm gonna do that. So when it comes to the deductible and out of pocket, those two things have to be met depending on their insurance and their plan before insurance will cover it 100%. Now, some plans will have a copay of $20 or $30. Sometimes what I do, and this is based off of the rate in Georgia, what I would do is I would tell my parents therapy ranges anywhere from $55 to like $80 per session. And then I would tell them how much it would range from when it comes to evaluations. And that's based off on the reimbursement rates that were in Georgia. So I would tell them that because everyone does things differently. I'm not here to judge, but I only charge my parents what the allowable amount is. So when I send in the claim and they say the allowable amount for this code is $60, but we're not paying anything of that $60 because they haven't met their deductible, I charge the parents $60. Some people charge their rate. That is up to you because that is your business and your business only. Now, we all know the insurances I have experience with. So biggest question is, where do I bill? So ability is the first place to start, especially with the commercial insurances. There you can check the benefits, which I usually print those off for my records and attach it to the client's profile in my EMR system after I have plugged all of that in. And also too, depending on your state, because Ability has certain features for certain states, you can fix the claims in there. You of course can submit claims and apply for authorization. So if you are a insurance provider for any of the commercial private insurances, Ability will be your best friend. Now, a third mistake I want to talk about, and this is more for the billing side, is not understanding these two things. So with the credentialing session, you heard me talk about EFT and making sure you fill that out when you are applying for insurances. You have the EFT to set up so that you will get the reimbursement money direct deposit into your account. Now, when it comes to ERA, if you have an EMR system, sorry, my coffee is wearing off from this morning. If you have an EMR system, you would want to fill out ERA form so that your EMR system can talk to the insurance portals. So you're not going to all these different insurance portals seeing if you got paid. That's why you kind of need those two to talk to. So ERA is the electronic remittance advice. So that's basically the document that's going to show what you billed and how much you're going to get paid. Then you have EOBs. You get EOBs all the time. You know how you get that letter in the mail says this is not a bill. This is just the explanation of benefits. It literally shows you what your provider has billed the insurance, how much they billed and how much they actually got paid. Okay. So that is the difference between those three. So then, like I said, you have EOB, explanation of benefits, which is important. ERA, which is, it explains to the provider what you're going to get paid and all the benefits. And then, of course, you have EFT for your direct deposit. Now, there's one more E. It is called electronic data interchange. All right. Now, this is back to the ERA form. Really, it's an ERA/EDI form that you would fill out for your softwares to talk, for the software to talk to the insurance portal. Every insurance has a payer number. Okay, so don't get confused with this. This is just so that your software and your insurance portal can talk to each other. Does everybody understand this? Or do I need to go I need to explain this some more? And let me use the term that you hear all the time. It's a clearinghouse. So when you submit your claim through your EMR system, it goes through a clearinghouse to make sure everything's straight. Then it goes to the insurance and then they process it, and then it comes back through the clearinghouse to tell you how much you paid, and then it comes back to your software. But you have to set that up. Does everybody understand that? Okay. Here it goes. See, I'm ahead of myself. So clearinghouse is just the middleman, and that's why I mentioned before when I was talking about shopping around for EMR systems. Some EMR systems have their own clearinghouse, which will make life so much easier. But then there are some EMR systems that you have to set up your own clearinghouse. So it's good to ask that question. Put a big star on your notes. When you are EMR shopping, ask them, do they have their own clearinghouse? All right. So here's how you read a claim. And yes, this is a real claim. I did not make this up. So this is how much I billed, the $85. The allowable amount was $46.75. And then TRICARE only paid me $18.75. So the parent had to pay me $28. I'll give y'all a second to look at that. So those are the things you need to look for. What you bill, how much is allowed. That's really the one you need to focus on. How much is allowed, how much they paid, and then patient responsibility is just that. That is how much the patient will owe you. Yes, you get the allowable amount, not the billed amount. Exactly. That's why I always tell people, if you know the Medicaid rate, always bill a little bit more than that. Honestly, to make life easier for myself, my billing rate is the same as my private pay rate, because it just makes life less complicated to have different rates all over the place. So if your private pay, which most people are there, if your private pay rate is well over the allowable amount, then it's going to make it easier. What happens to the difference? Nothing. It dies. Sorry, the easiest way to explain it. It's just not there. That's what is allowed. So every insurance, every state policy holder, whatever term you want to use, says this is how much we're going to pay for this rate, and that's it. So that's why people make their decisions if they want to accept Medicaid or not accept Medicaid. I've met people who they only take Blue Cross Blue Shield because they care for that reimbursement rate over the other person's reimbursement rate. So it's all about what is your comfort zone and preference. And for me, I became a provider for everybody just so I could see what the reimbursement rate was, and for me to make a decision for myself for how I wanted to serve my community and what best served my payroll. So it's up to you on how you do it. Now, I have heard people bill patients or parents the difference, but to each his own. I'm not going to tell anybody how they run their business. So that's what you want to do to make up the difference for your rate. That is your decision. Now, how would you collect payments? There are so many different ways to collect payments. When I first started, I used QuickBooks. I used to send invoices that way. A lot of EMR systems now are having the ability to accept payments through the EMR system. There might be like an extra charge. One that I promote the most is Ivy Pay, because Ivy Pay was created by, I want to say, a psychologist or somebody in the mental health field. And so it is HIPAA compliant, and I see a lot of therapists use that. So QuickBooks or Ivy Pay. Now, oh, that was quick. And I got plenty of time for questions. Now, what you need to do is figure out really what insurance you want to take and which one works for you. Definitely put a payment policy in place. Back to the whole explaining the benefits. I, after a while, had to start having parents sign, because what will happen is, in some cases, parents are like, okay, yeah, I can do that, $20 copay, $50 copay, whatever. And then all of a sudden they stop. But they want your services not to stop. So it's always good to set up a policy for your practice and then figure out how you're going to bill. Are you going to bill through the different portals or through Ability? I know some people who just do that and they don't have an EMR system at all. Or are you going to set up your EMR system to bill? And then, of course, what type of payment collector you're going to use, because if you're going to take anything like Blue Cross Blue Shield, United, there will be a copay. There will be. And then, of course, making sure you set all of those ERAs, EDIs up with your software. I would strongly suggest for you to reach out to your representative for the software to help you set that up. And I think, oh yeah, and also I am having a discount for anybody who signs up for the billing and coding course that I have on my website. Also, if you have any questions, I always point people to ASHA as well, at reimbursement@asha.org. I sent them a slew of questions about a month or so ago, because I had a question about a modifier. I think it's KX. I think it was that one. And that particular modifier, you can use it if you need to go over your visits. But when I asked them, because if you've been here before, I do not believe anything I see on Facebook. So I wanted to ask them directly. And they had said that you can only use that with Medicare patients. You can't use that with other patients. I'm trying to find, let me find the email about that, because I was like, oh, and everybody in Facebook talking about, use this modifier, and you're really not supposed to use that modifier with kiddos. So here it is. I had some questions. Here are my questions. I said, yep, it is KX. When a client runs out of visits, can we bill using KX to continue to see the client? They said KX modifier is only for Medicare clients, which does not have a cap on services. They only have a medical review threshold. Here's a question. Can you accept private payments from a client when their deductible has not been met and you know that insurance will not pay you? The client is willing to pay out of pocket. And they said patients with deductibles do pay cash for services until they reach their deductible. They should be provided with the super bill, can't talk, if you are out of network with their insurance. If you are in network with their insurance, check with the insurer about how to file a claim, which I already know that. The insurance does not need a way to track the patient's payments to determine when they have met the deductible. So this is what I did. A lot of people wouldn't do it, but I still billed in the insurance even when I knew the deductible was high and the patient had not, they just weren't gonna hit the deductible, because a parent told me it helped them out in another profession or another appointment. So even though they were paying me out of pocket the allowable amount, because I was billing, those charges went toward the deductible. So the deductible, their overall deductible was going down, even though for me, it didn't help me because the deductible was so high. So any questions? See, most challenging is enrolling insurances in their process. Why do you find that challenging? I feel like that's the easy part. The easy part is becoming a provider. It's the other parts that don't. Any questions? I finished a little early than I planned. Any questions? I really like Laura's idea. I'm gonna take that myself and make a video. I disagree about that. You said different insurance require different paperwork and the time it takes is forever. I would say it depends on your state. But when it comes to insurances, it's usually just the application, your license, your liability. Like I said, some may require some documents that need notarizing, but it takes about 45 days. So feel free to email me if you have any specific questions, but it's pretty, that part is pretty straightforward. But I hope you guys have enjoyed these three sessions. It has been phenomenal. Oh good, it's on your website. Noted. I'm gonna put that on my website. I'm rebuilding mine. That's a great idea.
Yeah,
I'm
Lauren,
just
can
gonna
you
put that
share
out there.
what was Laura's idea? Can you share that in case people can't see the chat later?
Yeah, so Laura said she made a video explaining deductible and out of pocket, and I'm just like, oh, that makes life so much easier. I actually had a parent tell me I explained it better than his HR rep. Because especially guys, and I'm just gonna say it, African Americans usually don't go to the doctor. So I will always tell my parents, hey, take everybody to the doctor. Everybody go to the doctor. It will help your deductible. Because whenever you go to the doctor and you don't pay anything, or you just pay that $5, let's say I went for like my annual physical, right? And they billed $200, but I only had to pay $5. Well, that 195 goes toward my deductible, if that's the allowable amount, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
That is awesome, Laura. Yep, I learned, listen, always learning something new. Noted. And that is good, Laura, for anybody who is a one-man show like I'm about to be. So Laura says she puts everything on her website: the copay, the calendar year versus the plan year. That is so important. Authorizations, all of it. And then she sends it out with the verification of benefits letter. And that just kind of ease that. And I love how you have a video and the letter. So anybody who might be, let's say, healthcare illiterate will have that visual, but they also have that letter. I am definitely professionally borrowing that from you. That's a great idea. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you so much, Laura, for sharing that. That's super helpful. And thank you so much, Lauren. We do have a couple more minutes, so if anybody has any other questions, feel free to throw them in the chat, or we can allow you to talk if it's a more detailed question like we had last time. I do want to say thank you so much for coming to the series of webinars. If you need more information, you want more from Lauren, you can go to her website at heretospeakacademy.com. And she does have that coupon code for you all. You can also find her on YouTube or at CCC-SLP. If you want to learn more about SpeakSuite, you can go to SpeakSuite.com and set up a demo. We'd love to show you more. And we're talking about ASHA because it's just around the corner.
Yeah,
so
it's like right around the corner. Let me add two more things that just came to mind. So
sure.
If you have an EMR system and you figure out, I'm going to try to say this slowly without confusing you because billing is so overwhelming. If you figure out, and I'm going to use modifiers because it's the easiest example. If you find out that Blue Cross Blue Shield requires modifiers, every software might say something different, but you need to write a claim rule. What is that, Lauren? So the reason why we pay so much for these EMR systems is because they are automatic, right? When we do our SOAP note, it generates the 1500 form, and then we can just press send and it goes to the insurance. Well, if insurance requires different things like modifiers or codes, guess what you need to do? You need to write a claim rule, and that says whenever I bill Blue Cross Blue Shield, I need to add modifier GNHA. So when you write that claim rule, it kind of just, it's like magic. It automatically goes to your claim. And that's why I'm really big on having an EMR system. And once you find out all those different things for different insurances, you can do that versus doing it by hand or otherwise. Also, too, a lot of people think I'm so against billing companies. I am a little bit, because they take 20%, right? However, if it works for you, it works for you. My biggest thing is, because that is your MPI number, right? Your business and you yourself. I strongly suggest that you get this knowledge so that you can have weekly or bi-weekly or monthly. Me personally, I would want weekly because that's my name. But you need to have a system set up where you are asking them questions. You're finding out how many claims are outstanding, finding out why they are outstanding. Are they actively working on them, and finding out what is going on, because that's your money, right? Especially if you have employees, because I know billing can be overwhelming. And it can be a lot. So if you decide to say, hey, I want to delegate this out, I'm going to get a billing company, or I'm going to hire somebody, which I strongly suggest that, and just do an hourly thing, right? Where you pay them $20, $30 an hour. But if your EMR system is set up 20% versus only paying somebody, let's say 10, 20 hours a week or every 2 weeks to chase your not paid claims. And if your EMR system is set up right, y'all, you will not have a lot of not paid claims. So this is from someone who's had a part-time biller. Before COVID, I was dwindling her down because I did not have a lot of not paid, because everything was set up in my EMR system to run. So that's the only reason why I'm against the whole 20% billing company, because 20% of your revenue for the month is a lot, when you could be paying way less to like a part-time person, or you can just train your office manager or train your receptionist, whoever you trust with that. But I'm just, or your husband. I've met a lot of couples who have had the husbands over that. So just want to give you guys options, and want you to keep majority of your revenue as possible, especially for those people who are in states where their reimbursement rate is terrible. Just want to give you the information so that you can do it on your own or spend as less money as possible. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I just want people to know your stuff. If you just Google Medicaid fraud and put SLP behind it, it's a lot of people out here getting in trouble. And I would not be surprised if a lot of these billing companies have clauses in their contracts to cover them. So if the billing company is doing something wrong, ASHA and your state are not coming for the billing company. They are coming for you. Not trying to scare you, but I'm just saying, they're coming for you. They are coming for you. So keep your finger and your thumb on your billing as much as possible.
I think that's great advice, Lauren. Because a lot of times we get scared with billing, so we think, oh, I'll have someone else do that. But that can still be a little scary if you don't know what's happening behind the scenes. So really, really good point.
Yeah. I clicked too far. Okay, what's your question?
Looks like we have one question coming in.
Well, you guys have been great to chat with, and thank you for all the compliments. What happens when the clinic you are contracted to has used a third party? Third party for billing? Or those are two separate things. I get asked that a lot. Oh, if I apply will my employer know? No, they will not. That's on them. I mean, if the clinic you work for is using a third party billing, that has nothing to do with you, because you aren't the owner. That's if you're the owner, then that's a different situation. But as the owner, and this is why I'm so passionate about owners knowing about this, they're going to come for the owner, not for the therapist. So if they use a third party billing, they're delegating that out. But when you have your business, that is two separate things. So that's why we talk about having a group NPI and building up under that, because they would not do that. That's interesting. You shouldn't. So the comment is, I worked as an independent contractor, but the clinic owner and third party were asking me to sign enrollment forms when I left the position. If you have left, you shouldn't be signing enrollment forms. I know a lot of insurances, you have to like revalidate your providership. So it's almost like in the school system, we have to test kids every 3 years. It's like that in insurances. Some insurances, it might be every year. Some insurance, it might every 3 years or every 5 years. But if you are leaving the position, you shouldn't be signing enrollment forms, because then you run the risk of them still using your information to bill. So gotta ask those hard questions sometimes. Gotta ask those hard questions. You are welcome. All right, so if you are going to be in little chilly Boston with me and Allison in November,
Yes.
make sure you come by to say hi. I will be at booth 370. Allison is be a little away from me, not too far. I actually saw the map. We're not that far from each other. At 11:41. So make sure you come say hi to us at ASHA if you are there. And I guess this is
And I just want to say
for
thank
now.
you so much, Lauren. Yeah, thank you. That's it for now.
For now.
And yes, and we're super excited to be at ASHA. So like Lauren said, come see us in person. It's always fun to see people that we interact with over technology. So we're excited to be there. Yeah, definitely. In the real flesh.
Right.
So thank you again, Lauren. This has been really amazing. Like I said, we will have recordings available. I know it's a lot of information, and if you're like me, you want to kind of rewatch a couple parts to really get all of that information and let it sink in. Right. So we will be sending out the recording links to your email in the next few days. So look for those. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your Monday evening, and thank you for joining us. And thank you again so much, Lauren.
No problem. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.